Hello, Flavio here. Today I'd like to confess something to you. I'd like to make a confession because I think that as I confess this to you, we're all going to heal together. And I appreciate you listening and hearing my confession. I'll tell you, when I was a kid, I don't remember exactly how old I was, but I saw a movie on television about the life of Samson. Samson, the character, the biblical character who was very strong, right? And he met a woman by the name of Dalila. And the way I remember the story, I haven't read the story in the Bible in a while, but the way I remember it, Samson had a spiritual mission. Samson, you see, in the Old Testament, all of these ideas of the woman or the hair or strength, these ideas are pretty much metaphorical. You see, Samson had a spiritual mission. What is a spiritual mission? It is something that we accept before we are born. We accept to do that. We don't do it because we're completely altruistic. We do it because we also derive growth and benefit from doing the mission. But we accept that mission because we're going to help humanity or others or the community. But we also get a benefit from it, from doing what we came here to do. There's a self-actualization that happens there, and that's good, and that drives us forward. Well, Samson, which, it's interesting because when we talk about biblical stories like David, Abraham, Samson, we tend to think of them as like this other guy over there to whom this happened. But think of yourself as Samson for a moment. Think of this story as being totally symbolic and metaphorical, and ask yourself, what would that mean to you? Pretend you're Samson. And it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. This has nothing to do with the man-woman dilemma. It has nothing to do with the fact that Delilah is a woman. It has nothing to do with that type of thing. It's an entirely metaphorical story. And here's the story. He has a mission represented by his might and his strength. And nobody can defeat him. So they send him an enemy to defeat him. The enemy is represented as a woman because the woman in the Old Testament represents the feminine aspect of our nature, the aspect of our nature that has to do with desire. Because it is through desire, so the woman represents desire. We all have desire. Desire for something different. That desire comes from our, think of desire as something that wants to receive. I have the desire for a new jacket. Well, I want to receive a new jacket. That receptivity is the feminine aspect, energetically speaking. So oftentimes when they talk about woman, they're talking about desire. For instance, when you have Adam and Eve, and from Adam comes Eve, the first woman, what they're really talking about is Adam initially had no desire. And when desire comes upon him, now he seeks knowledge, and seeking knowledge results in living a physical life. And we're going to be talking about this later. What does that mean, a physical life? So think of woman in the Old Testament as desire. But anyway, to go back to Sampson and Dalila, he meets this woman. In other words, he confronts his own desires. And in attempting to satisfy his own desires, which once again has nothing to do with sex or women, in attempting to satisfy his own desires as opposed to the spiritual mission that he came here to fulfill, he ends up without his strength. In the story, Delilah discovers that his strength comes from his hair. She calls the guards to cut his hair off. But the point is that in attempting to fulfill his own desire, he loses his strength. As a result of losing his strength, the guards are able to bind him, poke his eyes out. What does that mean? He loses his vision. What saves humanity, what saves a human being, what saves a man, and by man I mean the spiritual man, meaning, man, woman. In other words, the human being, what saves the human being is his vision. Where there's no vision, people shall perish, right? And you know this because whatever situation you have confronted in your life, so long as you have a vision of a way forward, it's okay, we're going to make through this. We got to have a vision. One of the things that people appreciate when they come here to the office is they come in with conflicts and problems and trouble, and they feel lost. And if we can have an initial conversation and if we can help them develop a vision of the way their lives could be, we're, we're in, we can work. It's going to work out. It's going to be okay. Because now all we have to do is help the person satisfy the vision. So getting the vision is the most important thing. In the Old Testament, in the Bible, poking Samson's eyes out simply means that he lost his vision as a result of what? Communing or spending time with or attempting to satisfy his own human desires. No more vision. And the Bible is quite graphic, especially the Old Testament, and quite scary. And in some passages, and then not only that, they also tie him up to a millstone, and he becomes like a mule, basically, going around and around in circles, and that's basically his fate. Think about that for a second. It's like we're attempting to satisfy our own desires, we lose our vision, and now we keep on going around in circles, going nowhere because there's no vision, we're going nowhere. Our lives are wasted. There has to be an ideal, there has to be an elevated ideal. Now, the story is also really interesting because what happens to hair, right? It grows back. So when the hair goes back, his strength comes back, which shows that even if you've lost your vision, you can get it back. This is really, really, really important. You can get your vision back. And I don't mean vision like your eyesight. I mean like your vision for who you are and what you came to this world to accomplish. We're going to get your vision back. If you feel lost right now, if you feel like you lost your vision, if you feel like you're going around in circles, if you feel that you've lost your strength, don't worry about it. We're going to be talking about these ideas, and we're going to help you get your vision back, get your strength back, and rather than going around in circles in your life, you're going to go forward and sprint forward to your own destiny, to your own awesome life that you came to this world to live. One of the things that people struggle with, and so have I, is this notion, it's unconscious. You see, so if I were to ask you, do you deserve your own success? You would jump up and say, of course I do. But unconsciously, we end up behaving in ways that are consistent with the belief that we don't deserve the success. So we have to get to that unconscious portion of our minds and clear up this desert thing. And it all starts with accepting a suggestion. I'd like for you to, as this video comes to a close, I'd like for you to, if you're not driving your car, if you're in a safe place, I'd like for you to close your eyes when you can. It doesn't have to be right now. When you're in a safe place, close your eyes and repeat to yourself, I do deserve my own destiny. I do deserve my own destiny. I do deserve my own destiny. And you're going to repeat that like as a mantra, and you're going to see that it begins to change your own opportunities in this world. Let me know how it goes for you. Put the comments down below and let me know what experiences you have. Remember, there's magic in life, and we're only getting started.